By 2007, Candace was a student at Stamford High School in Stamford, Connecticut. Candace ran track, was a cheerleader, and had many friends. In her senior year, Candace started dating a new guy, and things seemed to be getting serious. The relationship began to take time away from her extracurricular activities and other friends. One person in particular, named Evan Kopek, seemed to take a lot of offense to these changes. On February 1st, 2007, Candace and Evan got into a heated argument in class, and as a result of his actions during the exchange, Evan was suspended. 2 days later, Candace received threatening and racist voicemails on her phone. The harassers used racial epithets and threatened to burn Candace's house down. When given information about who had attacked Candace, the school said they could not take disciplinary action unless the perpetrators were arrested since the incident occurred off campus. Candace left school for 6 weeks, unable to deal with seeing her harassers on a daily basis. She returned in March when Evan Kopek and another boy was arrested. Kopek was charged with first-degree harassment and second-degree intimidation by bigotry or bias. His case was eventually sealed due to his age. The NAACP sued the Board of Education on behalf of Candace, stating that the failure to suspend the boys when the incident was reported violated Title IX, which bans discrimination in schools that receive federal funding. It's not clear if the NAACP approached Candace's family to begin the legal effort or if they were asked to intervene. The Board of Education eventually settled out of court without admitting guilt. In an open letter written on March 5, 2016, Candace recalled, "By some random stroke of misfortune, one of those involved was Governor Daniel Malloy's son, a boy I had never even laid eyes upon. Malloy was mayor of Stamford at the time, and for obvious reasons, the mixture of politics and race proved irresistible to journalists. Soon my face was plastered on the front page of every newspaper across Connecticut, and everyone from the NAACP to Dr. Phil wanted in on the story. Without my consent or involvement, political forces took sides. The NAACP held press conferences outside my high school, which I reluctantly attended. Malloy's political enemies seized the opportunity to criticize him. Within my own family, lines were drawn. My father wanted to press charges. My mother just wanted to keep quiet so I could return to normal life. And all I wanted was an apology. I wanted someone to be accountable, admit they had made a mistake, and just say sorry. But to this day, no one has." The experience of the harassment, coupled with the media firestorm that followed, left Candace depressed and confused. She talked about the many days she would go home after school and cry due to the gossip among adults and students. She also came to feel that the labeling of this incident as a hate crime and these boys as racist was hyperbolic and wrong. Connecticut, do you remember any of us? I do, and I'll be the first to say I am sorry to all of them for having to endure that experience. A group of children dissected and labeled. Were they wrong? Categorically. Should they have been held accountable for their actions? Undeniably. Did they deserve to be branded by a society? No. After graduating high school, Candace enrolled in Rhode Island University in the fall of 2007 and planned to study journalism. She reportedly used her mother's maiden name at the university to avoid being recognized for what happened at Stamford. In a statement to the CT Post, Candace remarked, "It took me 7 years to move past it. When something like that happens, you become hostile. You become bitter. I remember not even wanting to use my name."
Following this event, and I barely made it to college because of this. It was like something that was really taxing that happened in my senior year. And following this event, I developed severe anorexia. It's a control mechanism. So I felt like my life was completely out of control and people were basically able to freely say whatever they wanted about me, and it was permanently on the internet. Like this situation that happened, and the NAACP fighting with politicians, and nobody gave a shit about the kids that were involved in this. Nobody cared about the kids that were involved in this. I developed anorexia. I think the ringleader, they kept calling him, that had these kids call me, went on to have DUIs. He was a closeted gay at the time. Everybody's life got ruined by this. And it was something that I never wanted, and it ate me alive. It just was this is it. The internet is forever, and these things happen. You get to write about them, and you get to politicize something that's not true.
In a video called "The Truth About Your Activism," posted on October 20th, 2016, Candace talks about how internet activism has replaced genuine activism by allowing people to feel that they have helped a cause without actually having to put their real identities or bodies on the line. After causing trending topics and viral moments, most online activists never really know the effects of what they have done, who has been helped, or who has been hurt.
school, defending me against all of the chatter that was drummed up by students and teachers alike. Because as we all know, in any of these types of situations, everyone feels a need to take a side. And maybe Candace made up the voice messages. Maybe she called herself. No one had been arrested yet. It was just an investigation. I made the decision then to start homeschooling while the investigation continued, and it concluded nearly 2 months later. It took 2 months before all of the boys involved were arrested and before I was able to return back to school, and my hashtag was allowed to shift into the societal subconscious. And then, of course, everyone forgot about my story. Everyone except for me, because a few months later I started college and I couldn't rid my brain of all of those articles that I had read online about me and all the things that I had read in the comment sections about myself. I was naturally terrified that incoming freshman students that could potentially be my friend would discover these articles and form presumptive hashtags about my character. And I certainly didn't want them to think that I was a hashtag race baiter or that I was hashtag trouble or hashtag anything else. But I couldn't control the internet. What I did, however, discover was that I could control my body. And I began manifesting that experience through severe anorexia, a disease that would stick with me for the next 5 years. This is a photo that was taken of me 3 years later in 2010, and I went on to lose about 10 pounds after it was taken. And if I am being completely honest on this stage right now, I remember my anorexia very dearly. I had an affectionate relationship with it. It was very hard for me to let it go because it was my best friend for 5 years. It gave me control of my life back. I felt somehow that with every calorie that I avoided, I was also avoiding the problems from my past. And those problems retrospectively could have been solved if somebody had just said sorry and taken responsibility for what had happened, which never happened. It's an incredibly interesting afterthought to have, that our digital activism over these perceived acts of inhumanity can itself become the act of inhumanity. That as a society, we tend to drum up these hurricanes to combat what may initially have just been a storm. That's because the method of activism has morphed completely. When our parents and our grandparents were coming up, that word required a physical presence. They had to march on the front lawns of the White House to put an end to the Vietnam War. They had to risk their livelihoods to put an end to institutions like segregation. Activism meant maybe being arrested. Activism meant maybe being killed. So they had to care deeply, beyond the concept of a trending hashtag, to voice their outrage. But today we have the internet. And the internet is fast, and the internet is amazing, but doesn't exactly require a physical presence, and it therefore allows us a level of detachment.